Hey everybody, this is Rustin with Metal Nation. Today we're chatting with Tim Ripper Owens, who's in Poughkeepsie tonight with the Three Tremors. Thanks for joining me for my birthday broadcast. How's everything going on the tour so far?
Well, I'm glad to join you on your birthday broadcast. Happy birthday. It's going great out here.
You are a very busy man. New albums from the Three Tremors, Spirits of Fire, and later this month, A New Revenge on top of all your other commitments. Have you cloned yourself and no one's caught on?
Yeah, I actually would love to be able to do that now all of a sudden. When I realized all these were coming out at the same time, I thought, I wish I could have. Yeah, listen, it's crazy. You know, I recorded them all at different times, but it just happens that they're all coming out at the same time.
Well, let's start with the one you're on tour for now, the Three Tremors. That album came out first anyway. This is sort of something you've done over the years with other vocalists in a live setting. Udo Dirkschneider, Blaze Bayley, Jeff Tate, if memory serves. But this is different. Tell us a little bit about what makes this whole thing different for you.
Well, it is different. In America, I did a tour with Jeff Tate and Blaze here in America. But the difference here is Sean called me, Sean Peck, and he said if I was interested, he wanted to make a record. He wanted to make a CD, do something original, not, go out and do just the Priest history that I did and things like that and all of our stuff. And that's what got me. And also, I think being that it was going to be kind of old school, everything's kind of over the top, the artwork, the lyrics, the singing, everything we do is over the top. It's straightforward heavy metal that kind of makes your head explode. Some people might not be their thing, but that's what also won it over for me because it took me back to what I loved in the 80s, it kind of was what was going on then. So I think that was it. This being a band that we're going to tour and do all that instead of just being something else, we were putting out a CD.
Right. And as you said, this is sort of pretty much a pure power metal, vocal-centric album. Is this something you've wanted to do for a while?
No, I never really thought of doing it. I've done a lot of different sit-ins with bands and guest singing and, but I wasn't sure if I would ever do it, especially this much high notes. If it was my own record, I wouldn't be putting this much high notes on it. But the great thing is we all can do that. So we've combined all of our superpowers, I think I would say, and the super high note power and put it on one record. So that's why it's always full going at you, this wouldn't be what happens if I would do it myself. So that's what's even funner about doing it this way.
Well, and I was going to say, given that all three of you have such powerful vocal styles, what changes did you make with Three Tremors to sort of add some distinctiveness to your own voice? I thought I heard more falsetto, which you just alluded to, maybe a little bit more edge, but what did you feel like you were doing there?
You did. It's exactly what I did. What happened was Sean sent the record, his vocal ideas and the melodies that he already laid down. So I recorded the whole record again myself using his vocals as a template. And I didn't want to sound like him, though. So it kind of was cool because if I would have sang normally like him, it probably would have sounded a lot like him. But I sang a lot of different things. I did a lot of layering, a lot of harmonies. A lot of the vocal I used was a falsetto, like the raspiness, kind of in the vein of a Metal Church, Sabotage, AC/DC. Just was a different type of vocal. I use those vocals on every record, just not as much. I might use it on one song on the Charred Walls of the Damned record. I used it on one song on the Spirits of Fire record. This one, a whole song. This one I used it all the time, a lot. I really sang a lot. And I used a lot more characters just so I could be different and stand out.
Right. And I don't envy Sean having to go through and pick and choose which parts were going to get used where, but you guys each recorded the entire album yourselves, the entire vocal lines. Sean was saying that sometime over the next year or so, you guys are actually going to release potentially all three versions where you're just doing the full lead yourself.
I think so, absolutely. I think that's, it's great. And what I think it's a great idea about it is, we can release them separate, which I doubt we will. I think the best idea, which we were talking about yesterday, is maybe just making a 3 CD digipack or something. 3 CDs, it'll be cheaper to buy like a 3 CD pack than go and buying someone's individual. This way people can get all of it. It'll still be almost like a regular CD cost, but we'll do it that way. And I don't think anybody's ever done that. It did make it hard for Sean and Dave to mix the CD. But I don't think anybody's ever went and sang the whole CD, and each singer.
Well, it'll be intriguing to hear it when that all comes out and everything. Now, you alluded to this a moment ago, Spirits of Fire. You were also working with Chris Caffrey of Savatage, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, along with producer Roy Z on that project, which is more in the wheelhouse of what fans best know you for, I think. Tell us about the band and sort of how that came together.
Well, it is. It's got Mark Zonder on drums, which probably he's, for people that are fans of him, he's probably subdued a little bit on this, doing something a little bit different. And that's why we all like this CD so much. We've all done a little bit of different things. And then, I think it's just more of the Savatage, Judas Priest kind of stuff. But then there's some more experimentation on it. But it's still more straightforward, heavy metal kind of stuff, There's songs in there that remind you of Judas Priest. There's songs that might remind you of Savatage. And there's other stuff that's just totally different. There's a slow one I wrote on there that kind of reminds me of a David Bowie type vocals. So there's just different types of songs on there, and that's what makes it great. I think putting out 3 CDs like I did, the best thing is I never put out a CD that sounds the same. The 3 of these CDs are all totally different.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's sort of really intriguing that I love about this. Like, I've got 3 brand new bands all at once, but there's this one overriding factor, this immense talent throughout all of them, and your voice is sort of pulling them all together. But and speaking of your voice, which is pretty recognizable to most metal fans, you've always had this adaptive ability, though. There are tracks on here that sound, like you said, like Priest and some Savatage. There are moments where you've got more of a Dio vibe to them. Do you have sort of an innate sense on where you want to go vocally when you hear a song, or did you work with Chris or Roy on how to approach any of these vocal performances?
Chris and I worked on some, and some of these songs, Roy had sent the music, and it just came together so easy. Everything's always kind of different. A couple of the songs on there, Chris had written, and it sounded, in his melodies, he wrote some melodies and lyrics, and they sounded just like a Savatage song, and I was so excited to sing it. Because I got to be honest, I think it's some of the most perfect stuff for me on this CD. So I'd like to just sit down with Chris one day. On the next record, I think it'd be great if the whole record sounds like that. But I just sing whatever. I start singing and it comes to me and builds. Every song doesn't have to be a screaming thing, and every song doesn't have to be power. It could just be something else. That's why I've always said from day one, I like versatility in singers. My favorite singers were Rob Halford, Ronnie Dio, and John Oliva, and even Chris Cornell, all very versatile singers. And what I've always said is I like to sing in characters. So my voice, you might think one way, this way, he's going to sound like this, or he sounds like this, but I can always do something from, singing a Sepultura song to, singing that style to mellower. So it's kind of nice.
Spirits of Fire is a fantastic album. And now I'm sort of looking forward to hearing all of A New Revenge. That one's probably the most different from all of these in terms of what we expect from you vocally and everything. It's a little bit different. And for those who don't know, A New Revenge, formerly Project Rock, got Kerry Kelly, James Kotak, and Mr. Ubiquitous, Rudy Sarzo. Tell us about that one and how it all came together.
Well, yeah, Kerry Kelly messaged me and said, hey, I got this thing I want to do. I never met him before it either. Years and years ago, I want to do this thing in Russia. We're going to call it Rockstar. And we went and did one little run. And then I said, dude, I can't call it Rockstar, man. I don't like the name Rockstar, and I'm a Monster Energy guy, and I just don't even like the name Rockstar. So we had changed the name to Project Rock, and we would do these tours in Russia and Europe. And then he started sending me music. He's like, let's do some stuff. And I really loved it because it was different. I'm still sounding like Ripper. I think this is the most raw kind of sound I have, and you can really hear my character in my voice. This is more of a Dio-esque kind of style because it's just straightforward singing, but with tons of melody. So I was excited to do this record, and it's funny, when I finished it years ago, it was finished 3-4 years ago, it seems like, or even some of the demos, probably the demo stages, and I'd play it for some of my bandmates, like in Europe. I got a band from Ireland. It's called Sandstone, and they're my backing band, and they're just great metalheads. They loved it. They're like, man, because you want to see what the metalheads think of it, because it's not a metalhead record. It's a hard rock and roll, hard rock, catchy, sing along, drink your beer kind of music. And they just thought it was so good. They were like, man, I can't wait. I think this is going to be awesome. You got to get it out. So that's kind of what happened. We finally, we finished it years ago, but We weren't sure about changing the name. We were going to change the name and put it out 2 years ago. And James was still in the Scorpions, and he was getting ready to release something with the Scorpions. So we were going to put we were going to be on Cleopatra at that time, I think. We were going to put a little thing in their DVD or something saying A New Revenge. We were changing the name to New Revenge. And at that time, I don't think James Kotek wanted to change the name. He didn't really think we should, so we scrapped it. We said, well, we're not putting it out as Project Rock, and we kind of scrapped it. Then it came out finally, so we just kind of finally said, just shove it out there, will you?
I was going to say, the debut album, Enemies and Lovers, comes out March 29th. And as you said, compared to Spirits of Fire and the Three Tremors, this really has more of a hard rock, 80s metal feel to it from the 2 tracks I've heard. And it really is intriguing for fans of you because we're used to that more metal-esque sound. In this, you really get more of that melodic side of your vocals, which is nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have released 2 singles from A New Revenge so far. The Way and Never Let You Go, I think, is the other one. Are they pretty indicative of what the rest of the album is going to sound like?
Yeah, it is. There's all kinds. There's a couple catchier ones, and then there's like a great one. It's called The Distance. That's a little faster, a little up-tempo, classic hard rock sounding. But yeah, it's really kind of like that. It's a great CD. It really is. Every song is just, it's a great CD to put on.
Beautiful. Tim, thanks so much for taking some time to chat about these 3 fantastic new records. Have a great time out on tour. We look forward to seeing you around the rest of the country when we can, and we wish you great success with all 3 of these records.
Hey, thanks a lot. And if you need anything else, you got my phone number. Just give me a holler.